so excited. I mean, so determined, and you were just going to make it happen. But the way that you were going about it was you were really looking for pretty much somebody to do it for you. You wanted somebody to
Mhm.
sponsor you, or somebody to pay for you, or somebody to figure out the school for you, or talk to the schools and get it so that you could come. Remember all of that energy?
Yes, I
Yeah. Oh,
remember.
I forgot to turn off my phone. My daughter's calling. So that wasn't working out for you, was it?
No, it was not. It was not at all. It was not working out.
And so I knew I was trying to like kind of give you an idea of like culturally. Boy, this sun is really getting to me here. Let me scoot up a little bit. Ooh, much better. Um, so aside from culturally, I was like, okay, well, this kid's ready to come. He really wants to do this. So then I started talking to you about other ways to get here other than what you understood, as far as the things we just mentioned,
Mhm,
like getting a
mhm,
school to sponsor you or a person or these kind of things. And so I started talking to you about manifesting, using your imagination, and
Yeah.
getting that going. And what was so amazing about it is at first you weren't understanding, just like you didn't understand how much of a culture shock this was going to be for you. You also didn't
Mhm,
necessarily understand what I was talking about with manifesting and imagination. So we started meditating together. I started teaching you how
Yeah.
to just simply meditate, as far as calming your breath and all of that. And then we started working on activating your creativity and your imagination. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious on your end what that felt like, or what that was like for you, and what ended up happening because of that.
At first it was a journey. It was like it needed a lot of practice. That's one thing I realized. It needed a lot of concentration. Way like it's just like I it was so hard. The hardest part for me, I would say, was like shutting my mind off and like just concentrating on single one thing and channeling like my energy towards that thing. And like at first, like you said, like it was really hard for me. And I remember all the times you're like, Robera, no, do this. And I'm like, okay. And I remember all those times, and it was a journey. And after that, after once like I got the hang of it, and I remember it was this point where um after we did a meditation, like I kept on going, and where you told me like every time, just even when we stop, you can keep going, and like you don't have to stop. And um I was like, okay. And then I even asked Sinke one time, and he goes like, yeah, I just do it whenever I sleep. Like I sleep meditating. And then I'm like,
Cinque
okay,
is my son, just for anybody who's watching that. That's who introduced us, is Cinque.
yeah.
Yeah. hmm So we um we were working together a few years while you were finishing up high school. And then I received a call from you one day.
Yes.
And I remember you're like, you just called me randomly out of nowhere, and you're like, Mama Jen, guess where I am? And I was looking, and I could tell you were in the city of probably the US. I wasn't sure. And you called me from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And how old were you then?
I was 18.
You were 18, and you had just finished high school, right?
Yes.
So the cool thing about that is you never got the sponsorship, you never got a school to accept you and bring you over and get you the visa and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So
hmm
one day you called me, and it was very unexpected for you. Now, what is interesting is how all of that came to play because you really started manifesting and imagining, like really lucidly imagining yourself here, were you not? Like, what was that like for
Mhm.
you? What were you doing?
So I just every time like we when we used to meditate, like I just put myself, I don't even know the place. I don't know where it is. It's just my imagination and I just created it, and I just think of myself doing activities like it can be like going inside the snow or something, and it's just all in my mind. I'm back in Ethiopia, maybe sitting on a couch or something, but it was all like inside my mind, and it's just where um like I created all this environment for myself inside my imagination, and just I do whatever I want. It's just I do whatever activity I want, and I kept on doing that like I for the long like as much as I remember. It's like I just kept on doing it again and again, and at some point it just like I didn't even expected it. It happened so fast, and I didn't, I was like, okay, how did it happen so fast? I felt like it happened so fast at the moment because it's just I wasn't expecting it at all, but like I
What
was
happened so
imagining it.
fast? Can you tell me? What do you mean? What happened so
So
fast?
me coming here, so it happened like it happened really fast where I wasn't expecting, with the pace I wasn't expecting it. Like I thought it was gonna happen sometime around like maybe 10 years from now or some other time, and like yeah, and I didn't expect it to be that soon, but it just
What
happened.
happened? Can you tell me? Like how what happened? What was so like what happened?
It was me coming here like to the
What happened?
US.
How did you get here? Like what was the
Yeah,
nobody
so
sponsored you, so like what happened?
At first, like, I was expecting like the campuses and everything to sponsor me, but at the moment, that wasn't happening. So I was like, okay, I can just imagine myself going there, and then I can find my own ways. And then, at some point, which I did, and which was that, like, I came to the campus and I realized that I don't have to go exactly to that campus, and it led in a way like where um I started like creating a possibilities for myself, like a lot of possibilities, and that's how like I went from one thing to the other, one thing to the other.
No, do you mean physically like you were creating other possibilities?
Yes, and like mentally too, and especially mentally, because I first imagined everything, and that's how I started doing it. I mean, I was like at first like, okay, let me try like meditating when we first started, and I didn't even like hope like, I never tried it before. I've never done it before, and at first it felt like, okay, this might work or might not work. I didn't put too much hope into it, and then at some point I saw some things in my life happening, like my grades going better, everything just going better, and I'm like, okay, is this thing working? And then I started applying it for a lot bigger things, like for like to come here and like all that. And still now I applied meditation to everything, like every part I do every day throughout my day. It just helps me like plan my day ahead of time. That's how, and I don't know if you remember, but when I came to Colorado and we were inside the car, and then you told me, look at all this. This is your imagination. You say that to me, and that specific time made me, after that, like I see everything and I tell myself, this is my imagination. And like, so I can do whatever I want. Like it just created a sense of like mentally created in my mind where I'm free to do whatever I want. like if I like put my imagination into it. So yeah.
Nice. So I actually got a call from you, I remember just a few weeks ago, and you said
Hmm.
something to me that was really interesting. You said you can't stress anymore about a job or anything. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
why can't you stress anymore about a job or anything? What was the basis of that? What were you
Okay,
saying?
I'm gonna remind you another memory. It's
Okay.
like we went on a bunch of journeys. It's just the journeys we had like shaped whatever I had like after that even better than I did it. Like because I was like we're trying to find a golf ball for um for Yogi to play with, and
For my dog,
we,
right?
yeah, and then I was like, but we don't have any, and then you were like, we'll find some, and then we walked, and then after a bit we found a ball, and you were like, see, I told you, and then I was like, okay, and then it's just after like those moments made me like think, okay, I shouldn't stress about like getting work or like going to school or what I need to do in my life. And then it's just like I said, it made me in a way like feel free mentally. And that created a sense in a way where I can do whatever I want and I can achieve whatever I want. And it's been like part of my daily routine every day. And it's just I sit down and for a minute if my brain starts stressing about anything. I just sit down. I tell my brain like, okay, you're gonna get it. That's okay. You don't need to stress. And I keep reminding myself that. And at the end of the day, like it just happens. It happens though.
It does just happen. I just gotta like put it in perspective for myself and for you and our audience here. You turned 18, you just
Hmm.
finished high school. Next thing you know, you ended up in Washington, D.C. I still don't understand the exact circumstance of how you got here. We can go in that in a minute, but 18, 19, 20, 21. So that was about 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And since then, you live in Minnesota. You
Hmm.
had a family and a home to live with that came upon you. You
Yeah.
ended up going to college, which you're getting ready to finish here in the spring. And then you've also started a boot camp for you kind of like tuned into more of what it is that you want to do. You started figuring it
Hmm.
out and you knew you wanted to do computer science type stuff. And now you're doing a boot camp. And all
Yep.
of this has happened in 3 years where 3 years ago, you were living in Ethiopia with no way to get here. You didn't have any
Yeah.
money, you didn't have any
True.
scholarships or sponsorships.
True.
You had absolutely nothing. And in those 3 years
Hmm.
you got here, and you were just telling me on the phone yesterday how you have other friends that you've met here who are also immigrants from
Yeah.
various parts of Africa, I believe.
Hmm.
And they're all amazed at how much you have done just in this 3 years here.
True.
And
True.
they're
Yeah.
asking you, how do you do this? How do you do
Hmm.
this? So what would you say to somebody like very specifically, instead of just saying I meditate, like what would you say specifically that you are doing? I hear, because what I'm getting specifically is that you do it every day. I hear
Yeah.
that you are when you catch yourself stressing, you stop yourself and realize that that's not helping you, and instead you can attract it. But is there
Hmm.
anything else that you say specifically to these people
I would
besides
say
the act of, yeah, go ahead.
I would say the most important part is that what I would say, like whatever I accomplished until now, I accomplished it by just putting myself in the environment I need to be in. So,
Mentally, right? In your imagination.
yep, yep. And my imagination, whenever I sit down and meditate, like I put myself in the environment I need to be in.
And
Like
then
I
what
create
happens?
the
Tell me what happens. you put yourself imaginative, and then what
hmm
happens to for it like does it
So
happen very methodically, or does it happen kind of synchronistically or through coincidences? Like what happens when you put yourself imaginative and then what?
I after I put like myself in the environment I want, and that environment, I know that like I don't need even, like to tell myself, but I know that like I'm the one who is in control because this is my environment. So I'm the creator right here, and I can like I can create whatever I want, and if I don't want it, I know I can get rid of it. So what I do is that I just create whatever I want, and then like whatever I don't want, I just take it out. So since as I said, like it's my own environment, and I'm the creator inside of that environment.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what I do.
So, and that was the big thing with you, is because when you were so desperate when I first met you, you definitely had what I call a victim mentality, or
hmm
I need somebody else to fix me. I need God to fix me. I need the whatever, or not fix me necessarily, but give me the opportunity and
Yeah.
all this. And you
hmm
had this outside of yourself, and you really, really took these teachings and became that for yourself, which you were hoping everything else to do for you. And you even said it yourself, I am the
Yeah.
creator. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I was wrong was that, and instead of like depending on someone, I didn't know that I had to depend on my own imagination. And I didn't know those were the things that can like that. I didn't know that was the way where I can get what I want, and until some point. And at, after some time, and I kept going on, and I started getting my answers in a way. And again, that was all through meditation again. And I do it constantly. So it just like, even if it's like 10 minutes in a day, I do it before I sleep. So I just, that allows me in a way to talk to myself and just to figure out answer for the questions I have.
And then how
So,
do these things come into your physical reality? What are the circumstances? Like you go inside, you're the creator, you create it,
mhm,
it, you have the conviction, like it just is. You don't have the, well, I hope, or maybe, or sometime in the future.
yeah.
Like you hold it now, but then for it to go from imagination into your physical, what are you forcing it to happen? Or is it happening kind of synchronistically on its own, magically it appears, or like how does it come in, like what is your experience with it materializing from imagination
Um,
into this reality?
materializing it, is mostly where I, whenever I constantly put myself in that, in my like imaginative like environment, I just, whenever I constantly do that, for me, honestly, it just, in a way, I don't know how, I don't know, it's just, so the reality, in reality, it just somehow I am faced with that, like imagine it, like the environment I imagined for myself, like it's just in front of me through some way. Like maybe today I went out to eat, and I somehow like see that environment through there, like it's just there. And then I go
Can
for
you
it, and
can you
then
give me a very, very specific example of where you imagined it and then it was there and you stepped into it? Like, can you give me what, like at least one very specific
okay.
moment
um
or creation?
uh okay, so for example, when I came to Minnesota first, I was like, okay, I don't even know if I can even like if I can even like go into that college, or if I can afford a college or anything. And
Okay.
then my auntie was like, okay, you can go to like you can do your senior, you can finish your senior year here, and then you can go for college, maybe that might change things. And after that, I was like, okay. And then I went to high school, and then I asked them, since I was already 18, they told me that I really can't unless I can go to school, but they won't give me a diploma. And for a minute, I was worried. And right there, I just stopped. And the next day I went home, and then I imagined myself like where I was in a environment where I was sitting down, and then there are other people with me, and then we're just like taking diplomas, and like I was taking my diploma and everything. And then the next day, believe it or not, I went back to the school, and then some guy, okay, I don't know where he came from. I don't know this guy, and his name was Scott. And then he came, and then he was like, "You Robera?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes like, I can help you with your diploma. You can get it through GED. I can help you." And I'm like, "Okay." And then he took me, and then he was like, "Do you want to take the test now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he gave me the test, and then like I passed all the tests right there in 2 days. And he goes like, "Okay, you're something else." And I don't know how, but just take this to the college. Hopefully they'll believe you because you just got your diploma in 2 days. And it's hard to believe. He said that to me, and I was like, he was amazed how it happened. And this all happened in 2 days. After 2 days where in the high school they told me where I can't get my diploma, but I can just go to school. And I told myself right there, like, that's not the only way. There are other possibilities. And this guy came out of nowhere, and he happens to be at the school. He works at the GED center. But at that moment, he happens to be at the school to help another student. And then he came, and then he was like, okay, I can help you. You can get your diploma." And then that way I got my diploma at the end. I'd say one of the best moments for me was I feel like that was, yeah, that was it.
That's amazing. And it was very similar with you getting the opportunity to all of a sudden one day get on a plane to Washington, D.C. You weren't not expecting to do that, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
What
I was
happened?
not.
How did
I,
you get like how did you get the opportunity to get on a plane? What happened?
so what happened was like, okay, so after I got the visa and everything, because there was a college that accepted me, and then I wanted to go to that college. And
Okay.
then I got my visa and through that college. And then at some point I was like, okay, I'm I'm okay, I don't know how I'm gonna go to the plane. I don't know how I'm gonna buy my ticket. I say that to myself. And then I at that time it felt like I felt like for me I was giving up. But I I I saw the journey I came through, like that I'm so close to what I want. And then again, I just did the same thing, and like nothing even special, but I did something like I did I did the same thing I did for like when I got my GED. And it was the same thing. And then I just like every day, like the day was closing by, and where the class was about to start and everything. And then I was like, okay. And then every day until that time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna find a way. I didn't know how I'm gonna find that way, but I kept telling myself I'm gonna find a way. And then um this one time, um he was like a family friend. And he goes like, okay, oh no, if he got his visa, I can pay for his plane ticket. And I was like, really? Because, okay, we don't know this guy. It's been so long since we had I don't even know. I've never seen this guy physically.
Oh,
I've never seen him. And he goes like, I can help you with the ticket, but that will be it. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And then at the end, it's just boom. And it's just, he ended up buying me the ticket, and I ended up coming here. And it's just the whole point, like the whole time from the beginning until now, it's just I've been meditating on it and again, like creating an environment. When I was little, like when I started meditating, my environment was like me coming here, like going to college, going through like it was my own college, my own environment. It was like the people I created or my own imagination, and everything was my own, and it just happened, and now like everything is at a point I want it to be.
You you were telling me that
Mhm.
you were alluding to it a bit earlier about you feel free now. Like
Mhm.
mentally you feel free because
Yeah,
you have the you just know if you want something you can create it, right? So
yeah.
I'm very curious about how you a little bit more about that. Like how you feel inside of yourself, how you feel and I know sometimes things get a little bit heavier and
True.
and that kind of thing, but just in general, like I thought it was really amazing when you called me the other day. You're like, I can't even stress if I can't get a job because I know if I want it, I can attract it. You're like,
Yeah,
I can't even make myself be stressed out because I know that's wrong. Like I know that
yeah.
you get, so
Mhm.
can you expand on that a little bit? Because that to me is what I think is so key is to feel free, to know that you
Mhm.
have the power to create and the big thing that you keep talking about is I never know how. We're always so busy trying to figure out the how instead of just creating the imagination and letting it come to us. And that's a big thing I think a lot of people have no idea about.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if you can go into some of that stuff a little bit
Okay.
more. Like,
So, um, as I said, like it was the part where I said like I felt free and I felt like limitless was the part where I think of myself like like this is my imagination and I'm the creator. So when you are the creator, like you are limitless. Your imagination is limitless. You can put whatever you want, like whatever you can think, like you can just attract it to your life, and you can make it happen. And so that mentality, if you put that in your mind, it just helps you feel like you're gonna be limited, like you're free to do, or you're free to imagine like whatever you want, and then like apply it to your life. So yeah, and yeah, the main thing is like thinking of yourself as the creator, like even like because there was a point where I was creating an environment, but I still was not thinking of myself as the creator, where I felt like my environment was being controlled. And that was like when I started like meditating and stuff. Like at first, like I was like, okay, I saw my imagination. I was where I was denying my own environment and I was denying it. So it was a lot harder for me to attract what I wanted at
can
first.
you explain that more? Like, how were you denying it and how is it controlling you? Can you go explain that to me a little more?
So it was where when I create my own environment, I see it and I feel like okay, it's something I don't know where it's like how it came to this point, or I don't know where this environment is. All I know is I'm just in it, not the creator. So that was I had like a different way of thinking back then, like where I was in the creator, I was just in the environment, like that was it. And
Oh, so the
yeah,
power came from
mhm,
you, like, I am the creator, and that like
yeah,
activated the environment. Is that what you mean?
yeah. So it was like I was activating it myself even before, like I was creating my imagination, I was creating my environment, or I was like putting whatever I imagined into my life myself. But like I was at some point since I was in denial where I felt like I wasn't the creator in that imagination. it was just not going good, where like it didn't help me to concentrate on one thing, or it just didn't help me be flexible in the environment, because I had the mentality of like, okay, I'm not the creator, I'm just in this environment, I just exist, I just, that's all. Like,
Mm.
so that was the difference. But after some time, I just, when I got to them, like to the mentality where like I was the creator, like it created a sense in my mind, like where I I can do whatever I want, and I'm the creator, and whatever I see in front of me is my imagination. And that was the biggest difference, where it made a big change.
Nice.
Hmm.
Nice. Do you have anything else that's come up over time or that you want to share that you felt or how you feel or anything else that you haven't had the chance to express yet today?
Hmm. Yeah, so there was I want to mention one thing, which is um so there was a time where I came to the US, and then um without knowing, like I was like, when things were going wrong, or when some things were going wrong, I got frustrated, and I I lost control of my own thoughts, and which also led to the way of thinking, like which made other things worse for me. And it wasn't good. And I remember you're like, look at you, you're just creating everything in your mind, you know that, right? And then I was like, yeah. So for a minute, I just forgot all about that, like where I I was not meditating properly, and I was not even like concentrating at all. And then like things were going sideways, and I started like creating more negativity into my life. And then it just kept on happening again and again. And I'm like, why is this happening? And then it was where I told you, I was like, this is all like happening, and I'm confused. And you're like, you know you're the one who's like bringing this, right? So like you know you can change it, right? And I was like, then after that, I just took my time. It took me some time to get back to to the point I am right now. And it's just, it took me time, but like it's just, it can like, once I put myself, like once you get back to like focusing on what you want, and like if you do it the right way, like I said, like if you think of yourself as the creator, I feel like you can attract whatever you want in your life. And it can happen. And it doesn't happen through a night. We practiced for at least 4 years. And yeah, we had a lot of days where we practiced together, and you were teaching me how to do it. And like I had a lot of nights where I did it I tried doing it like by myself too. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't happen through like in one night, or just like it takes time, and it takes a lot of concentration. Yeah.
But that's but once you understood it, as soon as you let kind of the other things go and you allowed yourself to be the
Hmm.
creator, then it did
Yep.
happen overnight, right? Like you got
Yep. Yep.
your plane
Hmm.
ticket overnight, you got
Yep.
your GPS overnight, you got your job overnight, you got your housing
Yeah.
overnight. Like you literally started
Hmm.
creating things overnight once you understood.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
what
remember. Yeah, when my auntie, not that long ago, this happened like what, a month ago, 3 months ago. I was about to move out, and she was like, "Did you find an apartment?" I'm like, "No, but I know I'll find one. I'm pretty sure." And then literally the next morning, there was an apartment that I called, and then um, like there were a bunch of them, and then suddenly one of them called me back, and they were like, "Okay, we have an opening." I was like, okay, but you know that I want, so I had my sister and one of my friend, and then I told them, but I want 3 rooms, and they were like, yeah, it has 3 rooms. And okay, I can I can't think of this as a coincidence. Like there's no way. Because I got the room like that I everything, and even after I moved in, I imagined every part of my room like how I wanted it to look like and everything. And it's just boom. And then every time my friends come into my room and they're like, okay, why does your room feel bigger than mine? Like we have the same size bedrooms, but they feel like mine is bigger, but it's the way I put it. Like it's the way I put it inside my brain, and they just look at it and they're like, how does it feel like you have all this stuff, but like how does it feel like it's like bigger than mine? But yeah, it's just like it doesn't take time once you realize it. Like it just happens. It keeps happening. Like it keeps going, and it's just that feel like will keep you going like that. The the motive that brought you to that point will just keep you going every day, and but until that, like if you realize, I like until the point where you realize that you're the creator, like it's just it might take some time, and it's just like yeah, I don't feel like anybody should feel like hopeless or okay, this is not gonna work or anything. It's just it needs patience. It needs a lot of patience.
Yeah. So I'm
Mhm.
curious, do you share some of these techniques with your sister and your friends? Or are they interested? Are they not? Like how is that like for you? Or is this kind of what's that look like? Or does it?
Um, I share it with one of my friend, um, who's from DC, and it's where because he knows me more than my other friends, and he knows what's going on in my life, and he's one of my friends that get it like amazed. He's like, okay, how did you get this? Okay, how did you do this? Like or like okay, we like you came like not that long ago. Like how is this possible? And he was like I remember, okay, funny story. I remember I bought a car and then not that long ago, like before a couple of days, my friend was like, okay, you bought your car with your own, like with working stuff like that, right? I'm like, yeah. And then he goes like, I calculated everything. There was no way that I can think of you bought that car that was possible. I was like, no, I bought that car with my own money. I remember. And I kept on telling him. And then he was like, how? Like he was trying to figure it out for himself. But I told him it's just I knew that I was gonna have a car like before I even had a car. I told
Mhm.
him that, and he goes like, "Okay," but like it's at a point where I saw what I saw in a lot of people is that until they see the changes in other people's life, like where they don't accept it. Like at first, like when I was telling my friends about it, like or do this, do that, and they felt like I was just saying that or it doesn't work or something. But once they like to start like change to see changes in my life and to ask me how I did it, where all of us were at the same point, but at the end, it's just we're in a completely different point in our
Mhm.
life, and it's just they're like, okay, how is that possible? And
So are you teaching them? Are you showing them? Are you talking to them about it? Is anybody actually trying and doing it? Like, is there
yes,
that one?
yeah, my friend that's living with me is trying like he's doing it and I keep telling him like we have our like it's my like sometimes it's random where like sometimes I don't have that much time but like whenever I get time like we sit down and we talk and then he tells me and then I keep telling him how to do it and it really it's really like in some ways like it pushed him where like he wanted to change things around and like where like once I told him like or once like I've like he's still like in his journey where he's realizing like he's the creator of his own imagination and like I'm pretty sure like once he figures that out I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a lot easier for him.
So what has he done to Let me get through this real quick. Sorry. I don't know how to turn this off. I'm trying to like not have it on full screen. So I don't know how to do that of it. I'm having a problem. So
Yeah. Okay, that's
oh, here
okay.
we go. Here we go. I think I got it. View, exit full screen. Okay. Oh, stop screen share. There we go. Oh, this is what I like. Okay. So
Mhm.
now is has he had any success?
Um, so pretty much at the moment, I would say one of the things was that I would say he had success too is where he wanted to start the boot camp. I started too, and
Oh,
then I was like, he was like, I can't start it, right? I'm like, why? And he goes like, I don't have the money for it. And I'm like, I turned to him and I'm like, I know you do. And then he goes like, no, I don't. I'm telling you I'm being honest. And I'm like, I told him, I'm like, you do have the money. You know you can start, right? And then after some time, I didn't even ask him details, but before 2 days or so, he figured out his own a way where he's able to start the boot camp, and he's joining me at the same boot camp on Monday.
that is something that I have
Hmm.
found to be really exciting about
Yeah.
using this process for other people.
Hmm.
When you had the conviction, right? Like, no,
Hmm.
yes,
Yep.
you do. You
Yeah.
just knew. And then that is so powerful and strong that
Hmm.
it ends up
Yeah.
when you're focusing on not just yourself but other people, that it creates for
Hmm.
them as well. So
And
talk to
yeah,
some of
and
the services that to
mhm.
him that
Yeah,
you
and
were
one
like, yeah,
more.
you do.
Yeah, one more thing, like you reminded me of, the other thing you reminded me was that it's like it's also like, in a way, like it's contagious, like where you can transfer that energy to someone else, and it's just like the person that's like spending their time around you, like they just feel that energy, and like they can see the changes around you, and they can see they can see what's going on, and then it's just that like motivates them, or that pushes them like to try out like how you're doing it, or like how it's done and everything. Yeah, but pretty much it's I just want to say, like, in a good way, it's like very contagious, and it's like your energy like just flows out to other people.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Now, hold on one moment. Have you do you have any like specific questions for me right now?
Specific
Do you
questions.
have any questions or any? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So one of the question I wanted to ask was like, or one of the questions I always had was like, so when you're imagining things and when you like imagining stuff, so there are times where I imagine things and I'm in the environment I created and all that, and but sometimes where like um my some part of my brain feels like it's gonna lose control of that environment, and then it's just poof, like it's gonna like go away, like, or at some point, and it's just how can you stop from how can you stop yourself from like thinking that way?
Wait, can you say that again, please? I need to understand you a little better.
Okay, so when you're like in the environment you created,
Uh-huh.
and it's sometimes some part of you just might think like so that was one of the things where um my friend asked me, and I didn't know how to answer it, but
You mean in your imagination or in the
mhm,
physical reality?
no, in your imagination. So
Okay.
it's like, is it like possible to lose control of that? And like if it happens, like how is it possible, like just to avoid it?
Do you mean like just to like lose the focus
Yeah.
or?
Lose the focus and just you lose the environment. So with it,
So
so
then, okay, so
hmm
one thing to do that's a very, very useful, helpful exercise is you pick one scene. Okay. So I
hmm
have this example of I was getting ready to go to Europe the next day. And
hmm
I did not want to go. I had an economy ticket and it was a bad one too. It was like, ugh. And I was just like, I
hmm
do not want to go over the ocean at
hmm
night and be exhausted and uncomfortable again. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to go into a plane and I want to lay down in bed and I want to fly in first class to Europe. That's what I want to do tomorrow.
hmm
And so what I did is that night, I closed my eyes and I went into
hmm
that meditative state. And what I did is I picked the one scene over and over again. So I would walk down the ramp onto towards the plane. I would feel like in my body and in very, very lucid with all of my senses and emotions. I would feel myself step in the plane. I would take a left to go into first class. And I got into bed and I laid down and went to bed. And then I would start to like lose it, or I was just at this point at the beginning, sometimes I'm only thinking it, I'm not being it. Big difference
hmm
between visualizing and being, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then I would start over and I would do the same scene. I would like, I'm like drifting off or start going into whatever. And it's like, okay, do it again. And I would come back and I would start again. I would walk on the ramp. I would feel the air
hmm
difference. I would feel myself take a left. And I would do the same scene over. And then if I lose focus, oh, okay, do it again until it
hmm
became so real that the last time I did it when I went to bed, I was in bed in the plane, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then when I woke up in the morning and I'm still in that sort of like ooh state, then I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm in the plane. I'm waking up in first class. And I would get out of bed and I would kind of get out as if I was in the plane. So you do
Mhm.
that same scene over and over again until it's so lucid and real that it just is. And sure
Okay.
enough, the next day at my connecting flight in Chicago, they had an announcement where they overbooked the plane and they were offering somebody a first class ticket if they would leave the next day and they would pay
Mhm.
for their hotel and food in Chicago. So obviously I was like, hey, y'all are looking for me.
Yeah.
Because I just created this last night. So very obvious that
Yeah.
was to me. And
Yeah,
so I went up
that's
to
very
them, huh?
I say that's very interesting.
Yeah. So I went and
Yeah.
they said, well, the thing is you have to go last onto the plane because if somebody doesn't show up, then our plane's not full. So you have to take this flight.
Mhm.
So at the very end, one person did not show up. So I had to get on that original flight. But the person that did not show up was in first class in the exact seat that I imagined the night before.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Mhm.
and I did it. I walked onto the plane and it was like you said, it was exactly like I imagined it. And I didn't,
Mhm.
after I imagined it, I didn't force it. I didn't say, hey, can you upgrade me and for free and all this kind, nothing.
Yeah.
I said nothing to nobody. It just, I created the environment and then I walked into the environment. And so when I
Yeah.
walked down the runway, it was exactly I imagined it. I took a left just like I imagined it, got on the exact same seat that I
Yeah.
imagined the night before. So that's one way to do it is just pick one scene that really, really, just like you did with the diploma. You picked
hmm
that one scene and you were like, this is, I'm receiving this diploma, right?
Yeah.
And that's really helpful so that you don't like lose it, because one way that you can lose it to lose focus is by trailing off into lots of different possibilities and stories, and then your mind starts to play, then you want to try to figure out how, and it can become really messy. So when
True.
you
Yeah.
start noticing to do that, then you come back into this one particular scene that encompasses it being done. Like, this is it. This is finished. It's here. It's done. This is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Does that answer what
Yeah.
you were asking?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Very
Mhm.
cool. Um, Now, of course, if your friend ever has any questions or everything, you can always link us and I'll talk with him.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
All
So,
right.
for anybody who is watching this right now, I have this code right here. This is to connect into, I have an app where I've created this whole course. It's basically what Robera and I did in like 4 years. Um, I have created a 6-week challenge for people to go into it, and I give all of the steps in it. And it's you can either do it on your own, or you can step in and ask for specific coaching one-on-one with me, where we would get in once a week and have a call like Robera and I are having, and have very specific answers to your questions and that kind of things. And so if anybody wants to scan that code and get access, I'm also sharing this. We're going to share this on different platforms. So I'll put this up on like YouTube, and we'll create different parts of it on social media, put it out there. So just want to do what we can to um, inspire people that
Mm-hmm.
we are the
Yeah.
creator,
Yeah.
right? Because I know
Mhm.
it's not
Yeah.
even a believe. It's not like I believe that everybody's the creator. I know we're the
Yeah.
creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every single human. Do you agree with me? Like, do you
Yeah.
believe it or do you know it for everybody else?
I know it.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
And
Like I
if your
said,
life
like
is
I told you, yeah.
miserable, it's because you've accepted the conditioning, you've accepted the beliefs, and therefore that's what you're creating as your background frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to I'm with you. I know it. It's just what
Mm-hmm.
is, right?
Yeah.
And wouldn't
Yeah.
that be what do you imagine? Like, just imagine this, Robera, like everybody knowing what you know. What would our world, how would our world be different, like literally overnight? What would, like, right? Like, what would it be like if
Yeah.
everybody got it?
I feel like it would be completely different, honestly, because it was right at the moment. Again, I'm gonna tell that moment where me and you were inside the car. It was a special moment for me because something happened inside my brain at that moment. It was like where you said, like, look at all this. This is your imagination. You being inside this car is your imagination. You said that to me, and I was like, that changed completely my perspective on how I see the world. And it's just, I feel like this is my imagination, and it's just I can make it happen. So it's
Mhm.
it's completely different, and it's so powerful. I want to say that it's really
Yeah.
powerful.
You
Yeah.
know, that reminds me because a lot of times we can think or believe that the world is very like it's just very hard and already there and there's nothing you could do. But when we
Mm-hmm.
realize that it's our imagination, or we can even imagine it kind of like a hologram, and it's very
Yep.
malleable. And when you
Mm-hmm.
realize that, you see you and you start messing with it, you start like trying different things, and they start to work just like it was for you at the beginning when your grades started going up in school and different things started happening. Then you're like, wait a minute, this is, you see results happening, and you see it changing
Yep.
because of the way that you think. It's like, just like Gandhi said, you got to be the change that you want to see in the world,
True.
right? That you
True.
want to see in
Yeah.
the world, you have to be that. And
Mm-hmm.
when you really understand what he's saying, then wow, it is very powerful. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what would our world look like if everybody was seeing it like that?
Yeah. I don't know how to even say explain it even. Like I don't know where to start, but it's like I feel like it's gonna be really like I imagine like okay, we have buildings and stuff like that right now, but imagine if your brain comes to a point where it's limitless and it can imagine whatever it wants. So it's like today, whatever we have right now, our phones, everything is just imagination. It's people's imagination, everything. So we're talking through a virtual, like through uh internet, like the network or every like we're talking to like Zoom, and like it's just this is all like people's imagination coming to reality. And it's just right there. It's right there. You don't even need to look like you don't even need to ask people or anything. It's just right there in front of you, the proof, everything you need. Like like how
That's
much powerful it
true.
is.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere. It's
Hmm.
everywhere. Like you
Hmm.
turn around, it's everywhere. You know, the car we drive, the everything, the places we go to, it's people's imagination.
Hmm.
So yeah. And they're like they make our daily life a lot easier. And it's just someone imagined it. Like someone when they created the plane, they're like, okay, imagine instead of walking or like like transporting like with animals or something or to a car. Imagine if we fly, we can make it there a lot faster. So like it's just it's everything that we like the inventions we see in our world start from like imagining it like at the moment. And it's just I just want everybody like to realize how crazy this is. Like this is so powerful.
Yeah.
And trust me, like it's right there. The answer is like within each one of us, within everyone. And it's just like you guys can imagine like anything. Like what was the guy that invented phone was thinking? What was he imagining? So he
Right.
had an imagination at first, and then he just applied it. It became reality for him. So what do you imagine then? You know, like at the same time too, it's important to know that you can put it into reality. And
And this goes for everything. This even goes
mhm,
for like your body, your health, right?
true,
Like,
true, everything.
um, I have a
Mhm,
knee that I have had a bunch of surgeries on when I broke because I broke it when I was younger. And it got to the point where the pain was so excruciating that what I had to start doing was instead of paying attention, because it's what we pay attention to that the energy goes towards. So instead of paying attention to the pain in my knee, what I started doing was I would pay attention at totally only pay attention like to my elbow. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I forgot about my knee in pain. Like the pain kind of disappeared because I was not paying attention to it. So then what I started doing when it would like flare up again is I would imagine my other knee. I would pay attention to my other knee that feels good. And then I would imagine that exact feeling in my knee that was hurting. And and then over the course of keep doing that, I don't like I was at the point before where I was ready to go get a knee replacement. I was in so much pain. And now it's just kind of sort of uncomfortable sometimes. It's like not a thing. Like we can do it with our health. I know of people who have gotten rid of things like cancer. I got rid of the epilepsy. Okay, like we have the power to
mhm,
do this with every
yeah.
area of our life, whether it's those,
Mhm,
like the physical and the finances and stuff like what we were talking about before in the plane and the first class and our health. It could be our relationships. If we're like, everybody around us is just kind of like or like really bad and that kind of thing. You could change your creation in your
mhm,
imagination and your frequency, and then you start attracting different people around you, right, and
yeah.
opportunities for things.
Mhm,
So it really is universal. That's why I like
yeah.
these teachings so much, because it specifically applies to absolutely everything. There's nothing it
Mhm,
doesn't work for.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
Very cool. All right. Well, I
All right.
appreciate so much you coming on here. If anybody wants to reach out and have a conversation with me, you can just instant message me and we can sign up. I'll just tell me you want like my calendar link if you don't already see it, and I'll do a free call with you and we can just kind of see, answer some more specific questions for you or do something specific. But I do these live webinars. Robera, you're welcome to join them as well or invite your
Hmm.
friends. But I do live trainings very often, sometimes 2 or even 4 times a month, where we get on and we go through the specific techniques and specific meditations. So just to kind of keep getting people inspired and activated. So um, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And Robera, thank you not just so much for
Thank you
being
very
here,
much.
absolutely, but you have done the amazing, because you didn't just do it for a little bit, get 1 or 2 results and then forget about it, because I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
I've
No,
seen where
no,
some people
it
have
does
created.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does happen a lot where you just get a taste of that like one or two change and you're like, okay, I'm good now. And then we feel like we're at a good point and it's just we don't need to continue what we're doing, what we were practicing. And it's
Hmm.
just it comes to a point where it starts to fall off again because we're like on a whole different frequency or like we're attracting like the way we're doing things is like a lot. I was reading this book and it was talking about how we can create like like uh, good habits for ourselves, and it says like it's not that like of course we want to create those good habits, but it matters how we do them. So it's just not like once it happens, okay, we're good, but it matters what we do next, every step of the way. I do
Hmm.
it till this day. It's not like it didn't work for me or anything. It worked perfect. It works perfect, and that's the reason I do it every day.
You've been doing this for seven and a
Mhm.
half years, and
Yep,
you're just one of those people. You've totally recreated your entire existence.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Had you not done this, you absolutely would have still been in Ethiopia wishing that you were here.
True, true,
You just would, like,
true.
it wouldn't have
Yeah,
happened without. And like you said, you forgot, but then you were like, wait a minute, I know what
yeah.
I can do for this. And then you
Mm-hmm.
get back on and
Yeah.
you're just very
Mhm.
inspiring. And I just really want to thank you for finding you and keep being you, because you are such a loving, amazing, bright light in my life and on this planet. And I'm just so grateful to have met
Same
you,
goes for you
Sarah.
too.
You're the
Same
best.
goes for
Thank
you
you.
too. And I feel like I wouldn't be able to be at this point I am in my life right now if it wasn't like if you didn't teach me like the way like where I can put in whatever I want into my life. And
Mhm.
if I didn't realize that, like you said, I feel like I wouldn't not even be close to the point I am right now. And I'm glad that like and I felt like in a way like we were supposed to meet or we were supposed to know each other and just boom. And I feel like the universe generally works in a different way. So I feel like it's something nice. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. Um, Well, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank everybody who has listened. And like I said, you want to reach out and have a one-on-one with me. Let's make it happen, because it's all about just getting this whole, as many people as possible and
True.
as quickly as possible to
True.
understand the real source of
Hmm.
what and who we really are. So
Yeah.
thank you again. I'm going to turn this off. And thank you all for coming.